The massive space station Nexus Prime floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal city. Its lights twinkled against the black void as ships from 12 different worlds docked at its many ports. The year was 2387, and beings from across the galaxy had gathered for something that had never happened before. Commander Park Dae-ho stepped off the human transport ship and looked around the docking bay. The ceiling stretched high above his head, tall enough to fit buildings inside. Alien creatures walked past him, some floating, others crawling, and a few that looked like walking crystals. None of them paid any attention to the three humans, who had just arrived. "Well, this is new," said Dr. Kim So-ra as she adjusted her equipment bag. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. As Earth's best expert on alien life forms, she had studied every species they might face. But seeing them in person was different from reading reports. Captain Lee Woo-jin whistled softly as he watched a creature that looked like a giant insect walk by on 6 legs. "I count at least 8 different species just in this docking area," he said, "and none of them look friendly." Park Dae-ho nodded. He was a tall man with graying hair and scars on his hands from years of military service. He had fought in Earth's last great war and had never lost a battle. But this was different. This was not just about one planet anymore. The 3 humans walked through the station's main corridor. The walls were covered with screens showing news from different worlds. Most of the broadcasts were in alien languages, but a few were translated into human speech. All of them were talking about the same thing: the Interspecies Warrior Championship. "Look at that," Kim So-ra pointed to a large screen. It showed odds for betting on the tournament. The Vorthak warriors were listed as 3-1 favorites. The Quelix swarm came next at 5-1. Several other species had odds ranging from 10-1 to 50-1. Humans were not even listed. "They do not think we are worth betting on," Lee Woo-jin said with a grin. "That might work in our favor." They reached the registration area where a floating blob of purple liquid served as the tournament official. It spoke through a translation device that made its voice sound like bubbling water. "Species and representatives," it gurgled. "Human," Park Dae-ho said clearly. "3 representatives as allowed by the rules." The blob paused. Other aliens in the area turned to look at the humans. A few made sounds that the translation device said were laughter. "Human," the official repeated. "From the 3rd planet of the Sol system. Newcomers to galactic civilization. Are you certain you wish to participate?" "We are certain," Park Dae-ho replied. The official processed their information and handed them identification badges. "The opening ceremony begins in 2 hours. The rules briefing will follow. Be warned, this tournament has never had a participant survive who was not from a warrior species." As they walked away, Kim So-ra shook her head. "Warrior species. They think we are not warriors because we look soft compared to them." They found their assigned quarters, which were small but clean. Through the window they could see the planet Kepler 442b rotating slowly below them. It was a world of blue oceans and green continents, much like Earth but with no intelligent life. "The prize is control of the Andromeda Gateway," Lee Woo-jin read from the tournament information. "Whoever wins gets to decide who can travel between our galaxy and the next one. That is a big prize." Park Dae-ho sat on his bed and cleaned his sidearm. "Earth needs that gateway. Our population is growing too fast and we need new worlds to settle. We cannot let another species control our expansion." Kim So-ra studied the files on their potential opponents. The Vorthak are living crystals. They are incredibly strong and hard to damage. The Quelix work as a hive mind. They think and act as one group. The Luxari are made of pure energy and can phase in and out of our dimension. "What about their weaknesses?" Lee Woo-jin asked. "That is what we need to figure out," Kim So-ra said. "Every species has weaknesses. Even humans do." "What are our weaknesses?" Park Dae-ho asked. Kim So-ra thought for a moment. "We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We do not have natural weapons like claws or poison. We cannot fly or phase through walls or read minds. Then why are we here? Li Wujin asked. Kim. Sora smiled. Because we are the only species that fights dirty and feels good about it. 2 hours later, they entered the main arena for the opening ceremony. The space was enormous, with seating for thousands of spectators. Representatives from 12 species stood on the arena floor, while crowds of their people cheered from the stands. The Vorthak representatives were 8 feet tall and looked like walking diamonds, light bent and twisted around their crystal bodies. When they moved, the floor shook under their weight. The Quelix sent 20 smaller creatures that moved in perfect unison. They never looked at each other, but somehow always knew what the others were doing. The Luxari appeared as floating balls of bright light that hurt to look at directly. They communicated by changing colors and brightness. Other species included the Draknari, who looked like dragons, the Morphin shapeshifters, and the heavily armored Zenith warriors. Each group looked confident and powerful. Then there were the humans. 3 people in simple military uniforms carrying basic weapons and equipment. They looked tiny compared to most of the other competitors. The tournament director, a creature that looked like a tree with eyes, began to speak. Its voice boomed across the arena. Welcome, warriors of the galaxy. You are here to prove which species deserves to control the most important trade route in known space. The tournament will test your strength, your speed, your intelligence, and your will to survive. The crowd roared with approval. The rules are simple, the director continued. Single elimination rounds, various combat environments, no outside assistance. Fight until your opponents surrender or cannot continue. Park Dae-ho noticed that none of the aliens were looking at the human team. They were all focused on each other, sizing up what they saw as real threats. Let the strongest species win, the director announced. As the ceremony ended, the various teams began to separate. That was when it happened. Thex Moore, the largest of the Vorthak warriors, was walking past the humans when he stumbled slightly. His massive crystal shoulder bumped into Park Dae-ho. Thex Moore expected the small human to be knocked down, or at least stumble backward. Instead, Park Dae-ho stood perfectly still. The impact made a sound like a hammer hitting an anvil, but the human did not move at all. Thex Moore looked down at Park Dae-ho with what might have been surprise. Interesting, he said in a voice like grinding stone. Park Dae-ho looked up at the crystal giant and smiled. Yes, it is. For the first time since the tournament was announced, some of the alien spectators began to wonder if they had missed something about the species from the small blue planet. The tournament would begin tomorrow, and the galaxy was about to learn why humans had climbed to the top of the food chain on one of the most dangerous worlds in known space. The tournament brackets appeared on screens throughout Nexus Prime the next morning. Park Dae-ho studied the matchups while drinking his coffee in the human quarters. The bitter taste reminded him of home, of Earth's mountains where he had trained. As a young soldier, we faced the Quelix in the first round, he announced to his teammates. Kim Sora looked up from her datapad where she had been reviewing alien biology files. The hive mind species, 20 warriors who think and act as one organism. They have won their last 15 matches without losing a single member. Li Wujin finished checking his equipment and weapons. How do you fight an enemy that knows what you are going to do before you do it? You do something they cannot predict, Park Dae-ho replied. Something that makes no sense to a hive mind. The first arena was set in a zero-gravity environment. Large metal platforms floated in space, connected by thin bridges and cables. Spectators watched through force fields that kept the air inside, while allowing a clear view of the battle. The Quelix team entered first. They looked like giant ants walking on 2 legs, each one 6 feet tall with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws. Their compound eyes glowed with an inner light, and they moved with perfect coordination. When one turned its head, they all turned. When one raised a weapon, they all shifted their stance. The crowd cheered as the Quelix took their positions on the floating platforms. Betting odds flashed on the screens. The Quelix were favored 50-1 against the humans. Look at them, announced the commentator. A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish. Perfect unity, perfect coordination. The Quelix have never been defeated in zero-gravity combat. They move as one, think as one, fight as one. The human team floated onto their starting platform. Park Dae-ho activated his magnetic boots to anchor himself. Kim Sora checked her equipment belt one more time. Lee Woo-jin looked relaxed, almost bored. "And here are the humans," the commentator continued. "The newest species to join galactic civilization. They have no experience in zero-gravity combat. Their teamwork appears minimal at best." The countdown began. 10 seconds until combat started. "Remember the plan," Park Dae-ho said quietly. "What plan?" Lee Woo-jin asked with a grin. "Exactly," Kim Sora replied. The buzzer sounded. The Quelix immediately spread out in a perfect formation, 5 groups of 4 warriors each. They began to advance across the platforms in a coordinated pattern that would surround the humans from all directions. It was a textbook hive mind strategy. Overwhelming force applied with perfect timing. The humans did something unexpected. They split up. Lee Woo-jin launched himself toward the left group of Quelix, but instead of attacking, he flew past them and landed on a platform behind their formation. The Quelix turned to track him, but this broke their perfect positioning. Kim Sora moved to the right, not toward the enemy but toward a section of the arena where loose cables and debris floated freely. She began gathering materials. Her movements, quick and efficient. Park Dae-ho did the strangest thing of all. He sat down on his platform and started eating a ration bar. The Quelix paused. This was not in their behavioral database. Enemies were supposed to attack or defend. They were not supposed to eat snacks in the middle of combat. "What are the humans doing?" the commentator asked, confusion clear in its voice. "This appears to be random behavior." The Quelix tried to adapt. Half their force moved toward Lee Woo-jin, while the others advanced on Park Dae-ho. But their perfect coordination was disrupted, because they could not predict what the humans would do next. Lee Woo-jin waited until the Quelix were almost within striking distance, then activated small thruster packs on his suit. He shot upward, grabbed a cable, and swung in a wide arc. The Quelix tried to follow his movement, but zero-gravity physics made it impossible to change direction quickly. As the first group of Quelix floated helplessly, trying to reorient themselves, Lee Woo-jin struck. But he did not attack their bodies or weapons. Instead, he targeted their communication antennae, the small organs on their heads that allowed them to share thoughts with the hive. The moment the first Quelix lost its connection to the hive mind, chaos erupted. The creature began to panic. Without the constant mental link to its companions, it was lost and confused. It had never had to think for itself before. It flailed in the zero gravity, hitting its own teammates and disrupting their formation even more. "Brilliant," Kim Sora said as she watched from her position. She had been busy while the others were fighting. Using the cables and debris, she had built several simple traps around key platforms. Nothing fancy, just basic snares and tripwires that would catch enemies moving in predictable patterns. Park Dae-ho finished his ration bar and stood up. "Phase 2, he announced calmly. The remaining Quelix tried to regroup, but they were no longer thinking as one perfect organism. The loss of their teammate had created doubt in the hive mind. They were hesitating, second-guessing their coordinated responses. Park Dae-ho launched himself directly at the largest group of Quelix. This was what they expected, a frontal assault. They prepared their claws and weapons, ready to tear apart the foolish human who dared attack them head-on. But Park Dae-ho was not attacking them. He was attacking the platform they stood on. His shoulder slammed into the metal structure with tremendous force. The platform shuddered and began to spin. The Quelix, who had been perfectly positioned for combat, suddenly found themselves tumbling in all directions. "How is he so strong?" one spectator asked. "Humans are supposed to be weak." Park Dae-ho grabbed the spinning platform and used his momentum to swing around it like a hammer throw. The centrifugal force sent him flying toward another group of Quelix at incredible speed. He collided with them like a cannonball, sending all 4 warriors spinning into Kim Sora's waiting traps. The cables she had prepared caught the Quelix and tangled them together. The more they struggled, the more entangled they became. Soon, they were floating helplessly, wrapped up like packages. Lee Woo-jin continued his work on the remaining Quelix. systematically destroying their ability to communicate with each other. Each warrior he isolated became confused and ineffective. They had never learned to fight as individuals because they had never needed to. "This is impossible." The Quelix Queen Mind spoke for the first time in the tournament's history. Her voice came through speakers placed around the arena. "The humans are not following any logical pattern. Their behavior cannot be predicted or countered." Park Dae-ho floated in the center of the arena, surrounded by defeated Quelix warriors. None of them were seriously hurt, but all of them were either trapped, confused, or unable to continue fighting. "We surrender," the Queen Mind announced. "We withdraw from the tournament." The arena fell silent. No species had ever withdrawn from the tournament before. The Quelix had been expected to reach the final rounds. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all classifications," the commentator finally said, "the humans have won their first match." The three humans regrouped on the central platform. Li Wu-jin was grinning widely. Kim So-ra looked satisfied with her trap work. Park Dae-ho appeared calm, as if nothing unusual had happened. "How did you know that would work?" Kim So-ra asked. "Simple," Park Dae-ho replied. "Hive minds are perfect when everything goes according to plan, but humans never follow the plan. We make it up as we go along." In the spectator areas, representatives from the other species began talking urgently among themselves. The easy victory they had expected to watch had become something else entirely. "Did you see how that human moved?" asked a Vorthak warrior. "He hit that platform with the force of a mining drill." "And their coordination," added a Luxari observer. "They were not coordinating at all, but somehow it worked perfectly." "Perhaps we underestimated them," suggested a Morphin shapeshifter Dot. As the human team left the arena, Kim So-ra made a comment that would be repeated throughout the station for days to come. "You know what makes humans dangerous?" she said to a reporter. "Other species break under pressure. We break everything else instead." The tournament had 11 species left, but for the first time in galactic history, the betting odds began to shift. The humans were no longer unlisted. They were no longer ignored. The galaxy was beginning to realize that the small creatures from the blue planet might be more than they appeared. Much more. 2 days after the humans defeated the Quelix, everything changed on Nexus Prime. News crews from across the galaxy had arrived to interview the mysterious species from Earth. The betting pools now listed humans at 15-to-1 odds, a massive jump from being unlisted entirely. Dr. Yoon Hana stepped off the transport ship that had brought her from Earth. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a gentle voice, but she carried herself with quiet confidence. As Earth's leading expert on human behavior and history, she had come to explain her species to the galaxy. The interview took place in the station's main broadcast center. Representatives from 40 different worlds watched as Yoon Hana sat across from the galaxy's most famous reporter, a creature called Vex who looked like a walking tree with glowing fruit for eyes. "Dr. Yoon," Vex began, "your species has surprised everyone by defeating the Quelix so easily. Can you explain how humans fight so effectively?" Yoon Hana smiled. "To understand how we fight, you must understand where we come from. Earth is what galactic scientists call a death world. Almost everything on our planet evolved to kill something else." The camera showed images of Earth: lions hunting zebras, sharks attacking seals, eagles snatching fish from rivers. The alien audience watched in shocked silence. "Humans are persistence hunters," Yoon Hana continued. "We are not the fastest or strongest, but we never give up. Our ancestors would chase animals for days across vast distances. The prey would run until exhausted, then collapse. We would catch up and make the kill." "Days?" Vex asked, his glowing fruits dimming with concern. "You hunted for days without rest?" "Oh yes. And when large animals like mammoths fought back, we learned to use tools, teamwork, and strategy. We became very good at killing things much bigger and stronger than ourselves." The broadcast was being watched throughout the galaxy. In their home systems, various alien species began reviewing what they knew about human history and biology. Meanwhile, Park Dae-ho and his team prepared for their second match. Their opponents were the Luxari, beings of pure energy who could phase between dimensions. The Luxari had never lost a tournament match because physical attacks simply passed through their energy forms. The second arena was set underwater, filled with a liquid that allowed all species to breathe while fighting. Coral formations and metal structures provided cover and obstacles throughout the fighting area. "How do you fight something you cannot touch?" Li Wujin asked as they prepared their equipment. Kim Sora checked her specially prepared weapons. "You find a way to touch it." The Luxari team entered the arena as floating balls of brilliant light. They moved through the water like living stars, leaving trails of energy behind them. When they wanted to communicate, they flashed different colors in complex patterns. The crowd was excited to see this match. The commentator, now a different creature that looked like a giant eyeball, spoke enthusiastically about the matchup. "The Luxari are unbeatable in water combat," it announced. "Their energy forms make them immune to physical damage, and they can phase out of our dimension to avoid any attack. The humans will need a miracle to survive this encounter." The match began with the Luxari immediately spreading out and beginning their attack pattern. Beams of focused energy shot through the water toward the human positions. The attacks were designed to overload nervous systems and shut down biological functions. The humans did something the Luxari had never seen before. Instead of trying to dodge the energy beams, they swam directly into them. "Are they committing suicide?" the commentator asked in disbelief. But the humans were not being harmed by the energy attacks. Kim Sora had prepared special suits that absorbed and redirected electromagnetic energy. The same primitive technology that humans used to protect themselves from their own sun was now protecting them from advanced alien weapons. "Impossible," flashed one of the Luxari in rapid color changes. "Our weapons should be destroying their nervous systems." Park Dae-ho reached into his equipment pack and pulled out what looked like a simple metal cylinder. He activated it, and the device began producing electromagnetic pulses, the same technology humans used to disable their own electronic devices. The effect on the Luxari was immediate and devastating. Their energy forms began to flicker and distort. They tried to phase out of the dimension to escape, but the electromagnetic interference disrupted their ability to shift between realities. "What is that primitive device on?" demanded a Luxari warrior as his form became unstable. "Electromagnetic pulse grenade," Li Wujin explained casually as he activated several more of the devices. "We use them to stop our own machines from working. Turns out they work pretty well on energy beings too." Within minutes, all 5 Luxari warriors were trapped in the water, their energy forms barely stable enough to maintain consciousness. They could not phase away, could not use their energy weapons, and could not escape the arena. "We surrender," they flashed in weak, dim colors. "We cannot continue." The crowd sat in stunned silence. The Luxari had been considered one of the most dangerous species in the tournament. They had been defeated by what the humans called primitive technology. As the human team left the arena, reporters swarmed around them. One alien journalist managed to get close enough to ask Park Dae-ho a question. "Commander, how did you know those devices would work against energy beings?" Park Dae-ho thought for a moment before answering. "On Earth, we have a saying. When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. We have been building hammers for a very long time." Back in the broadcast center, Dr. Yoon Hana was still being interviewed. Fex was asking her about human warfare. "Dr. Yoon, we have learned that humans fight wars against other humans. This seems unusual. Most species only fight external threats." Yoon Hana nodded. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We have studied every possible way to hurt, capture, or defeat other humans. We know how to break supply lines, how to use terrain to our advantage, how to fight when outnumbered or outgunned. But why would you fight your own species?" "Practice," Yoon Hana said simply. "Every war we fought against each other made us better at fighting everyone else. We learned that superior technology does not always win. We learned that numbers do not always matter. We learned that the side that refuses to quit usually wins in the end." The interview was interrupted by news of the human victory over the Luxari. Fex turned to Yoon Hana with what might have been fear in his glowing eyes. "Dr. Yoon, there are now only 6 species left in the tournament. Do you believe humans can win? Yunhana smiled again, but this time it was not entirely kind. Vex, you are asking the wrong question. You should not ask if humans can win. You should ask what happens to the galaxy when they do. Throughout Nexus Prime, the remaining alien teams began emergency strategy meetings. The Vorthak Crystal Warriors reviewed footage of human movements, looking for weaknesses. The Morphin Shapeshifters studied human psychology, trying to understand their motivations. The Zenith Collective upgraded their combat armor and weapons. In the human quarters, Park Dae-ho sat cleaning his rifle while his teammates prepared for the next round. The weapon was old, simple, and used chemical propellants to fire metal bullets. Compared to the energy weapons and plasma cannons used by other species, it looked like a museum piece. Do you think they understand yet? Kim So-ra asked. Understand? What? Lee Woo-jin replied. That we are not here to prove we are strong, Park Dae-ho said without looking up from his weapon. We are here because we refuse to lose. Outside their window, the other alien teams continued their frantic preparations. They were beginning to realize that the humans were not just another competitor species. They were something the galaxy had never encountered before. A species that had spent its entire evolutionary history learning how to kill anything that threatened it. The tournament was entering its final rounds, and the galaxy was about to discover why humans had become the dominant species on one of the most dangerous planets in known space. The semifinals arrived with only 4 species remaining in the tournament. The massive arena had been reconfigured into 4 separate combat zones, each designed to test different aspects of warrior ability. The air itself seemed electric, with tension as beings from across the galaxy gathered to witness what many were calling the most important sporting event in galactic history. The remaining competitors were the humans, the mighty Vorthak Crystal Warriors, the shape-shifting Morphins, and the technologically advanced Zenith Collective. Each species had dominated their home systems for thousands of years. Each had never faced a serious challenge to their supremacy. Until now. Captain Choi Min-ho had arrived the night before as backup support for the human team. He was younger than Park Dae-ho, but carried himself with the same quiet confidence. As he walked through the station corridors, alien spectators stopped to stare at him. Word had spread about human capabilities, and now every human was viewed with a mixture of curiosity and fear. The pre-match ceremonies began with each species demonstrating their abilities to intimidate their opponents. The Vorthak champion, Thex Moore, stepped into the center of the arena and struck a steel pillar with his bare fist. The metal crumpled like paper, and the sound echoed through the arena like thunder. The crowd roared with approval. Witness the power of living crystal, announced the tournament director. The Vorthak have conquered 17 star systems through pure physical dominance. Next came the Morphins. Their champion began as a humanoid figure, but quickly shifted through a dozen different forms. A flying creature with razor wings, a serpent with poisonous fangs, a heavily armored warrior with multiple arms. Each transformation was perfect, down to the smallest detail. The Morphins can become any creature they have studied, the director explained. They have never faced an enemy they could not mimic and defeat. The Zenith Collective representative activated its combat suit. The armor glowed with power as shields, weapons, and sensor systems came online. The suit increased the wearer's strength by a factor of 10 and provided protection against every known form of attack. The Zenith have turned warfare into a science, the director said. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of most civilizations. Finally, it was the humans' turn. Park Dae-ho, Kim So-ra, and Lee Woo-jin walked to the center of the arena. They carried no special weapons, wore no powered armor, and made no impressive displays of strength or technology. Instead, they smiled. The effect on the alien audience was immediate and disturbing. Something about those human smiles made every survival instinct in the arena start screaming warnings. Prey animals throughout the galaxy knew that expression, even if they had never seen it before. It was the look a predator gave just before it struck. Why are they smiling? Asked a nervous Draknari in the audience. Because they know something we do not, replied his companion. Moving farther from the arena barrier. Captain Choi Min-ho had been assigned to speak to the media before the matches began. He stood before a gathering of reporters from 40 different worlds, looking relaxed and friendly. "Captain Choi," asked a reporter who looked like a walking plant, "the other species have demonstrated superior technology and physical abilities. Are you concerned about your team's chances?" Choi Min-ho's smile widened. "You know what makes humans unique among all the species in this tournament?" "What?" "We are the only ones who find joy in impossible odds." The reporters looked confused, so Choi Min-ho continued. "Every other species here fights to prove they are strong, or to show their superiority, or to demonstrate their technology. Humans fight for a different reason entirely." "What reason is that?" "We fight because we refuse to lose." Meanwhile, Kim So-ra was giving her own interview to galactic scientists who had come to study human psychology and biology. Dr. Kim asked a researcher whose species communicated through color changes, "Our analysis shows that humans have standard survival instincts like all creatures. You should know when you are outmatched and surrender to preserve your lives." Kim So-ra looked at the scientist with genuine curiosity. "That is interesting. What happens to your species when faced with extinction?" "We seek terms of surrender, negotiate for survival, or flee to fight another day." "Humans do something different," Kim So-ra explained. "When we face extinction, we become more determined to fight. Our psychological profiles show that we have a peculiar trait. The closer we get to losing everything, the harder we fight to keep it." "But that makes no logical sense. If defeat is certain, why continue?" Kim So-ra smiled the same predator smile that had frightened the arena audience. "Because humans have never accepted that defeat is certain. We always believe we can find a way to win, even when all evidence suggests otherwise." The first semifinal match began. Humans versus Morphins in an environment that changed every few minutes, desert to Arctic to jungle to underwater. The Morphins were confident. They could adapt to any environment by changing their bodies to match the conditions perfectly. The match started in a desert setting. The Morphin warriors immediately shifted their forms to desert creatures. Long legs for running on sand, internal water storage, heat-resistant skin. They looked like perfect desert predators. The humans did something unexpected. They dug holes in the sand and disappeared underground. "What are they doing?" asked the commentator. "The environment will change in 3 minutes. They will be trapped." But when the environment shifted to an Arctic setting, the humans emerged from their holes, already wearing cold weather gear they had hidden in the sand. While the Morphins were still adapting their bodies to the new conditions, the humans were already moving and attacking. Li Wujin reached the first Morphin while it was still half transformed. The creature was part desert lizard and part Arctic fox, a combination that worked for neither environment. Li Wujin simply grabbed it and held it down until it could no longer fight. "How did they know to prepare for environmental changes?" demanded the Morphin team leader as he tried to complete his transformation to Arctic form. "Because humans always assume things will get worse," Park Dae-ho replied as he tackled another half-transformed Morphin. "We plan for the worst possible situation and then add extra preparation just in case." The environment changed again, this time to a jungle. The humans were already wearing appropriate clothing and had the right equipment ready. The Morphins were caught transforming once again. Kim So-ra had spent the brief Arctic phase setting traps throughout the area. When the Morphins tried to use the jungle vines to swing and attack from above, they found themselves caught in snares and nets that had been placed with perfect precision. "This is impossible," said the Morphin leader as he hung upside down from a tree, wrapped in vines. "You cannot predict every possible change." "We do not predict," Kim So-ra explained as she secured the last Morphin prisoner. "We prepare for everything and assume we will need backup plans for our backup plans." The match ended with all 5 Morphin warriors captured or unable to continue. They had been defeated by simple preparation and human paranoia about things going wrong. As the human team left the arena, Park Dae-ho was asked by a reporter how they had known what to prepare for. "Easy," he replied. Humans always assume the universe is trying to kill us, because on our planet, it usually is. The second, semifinal would be in 2 hours. Humans versus Vorthak Crystal Warriors. But first, Dr. Yoon Ha-na had been invited to give a lecture to the Galactic Scientific Council about human nature. Honored beings, she began. You have been studying humans as if we are just another species that happens to be good at fighting. You are missing the most important point. Which is? Asked the council leader. Humans are not warriors who learn to use tools. We are tool users who learn to make war. Everything we create, we eventually figure out how to use as a weapon. Every problem we face, we solve by breaking something. She activated a display showing human history, tools becoming weapons, peaceful inventions being used for war, medical advances being turned into new ways to harm enemies. Other species develop technology to make life easier or more comfortable. Humans develop technology to make ourselves more dangerous. We have been doing this for so long that it has become our nature. But surely there must be limits to this. Behavior? Dr. Yoon Ha-na smiled. Humans once built weapons powerful enough to destroy our entire planet. Then we built more of them just to be sure. We are the only species that has seriously considered whether we could kill our own star, if we really needed to. The council members sat in horrified silence. The question you should be asking, Dr. Yoon Ha-na continued, is not whether humans will win this tournament. The question is what you will do when humans decide they want to win at everything else too. In their quarters, the human team prepared for their match against the Vorthak. Park Dae-ho cleaned his simple rifle while Kim Sora checked her basic equipment. Lee Woo-jin sharpened a knife that looked primitive compared to alien energy weapons. Do you think they understand yet? Kim Sora asked. Understand what? Lee, Woo-jin replied. Park. Dae-ho looked out the window at the stars. That we did not come here to participate in their tournament. We came here to take it. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not just another competitor species. They were apex predators who had spent millions. The final arena had been transformed into something resembling a battlefield from the worst nightmares of a dozen worlds. Shifting terrain moved like a living thing, mountains rising and falling, rivers changing course, forests growing and dying within minutes. Environmental hazards included extreme heat, freezing cold, toxic gases, and gravity fields that pulled in different directions. It was designed to be the ultimate test of adaptability and survival. The winner would control the Andromeda Gateway and determine the future of galactic expansion. Only 2 species remained, humans and Vorthak. Park. Dae-ho stood at the edge of the arena, watching the Crystal Warriors prepare for battle. Thexmore and his 4 companions were each 8 feet tall and built like living diamonds. When they moved, the ground shook. When they struck practice targets, the metal exploded into fragments. They are beautiful, Kim Sora observed, studying, the way light bent and twisted around their crystalline bodies. And absolutely deadly. The Vorthak had ruled their home system for 3,000 years. They had conquered 17 planets through pure physical dominance. No weapon in their experience could crack their crystal skin. No force they had encountered could match their strength. Lee Woo-jin finished his equipment check and looked at his teammates. So how do we fight living mountains? The same way humans have always fought things bigger than us, Park Dae-ho replied. We find their weakness and exploit it until they break. An hour before the match, something unprecedented happened. A delegation of Vorthak representatives requested a private meeting with the human team. They met in a neutral conference room aboard the station. Thex-Moore spoke first, his voice like grinding stone. Humans, we have watched your previous matches. You fight with unusual methods. Thank you, Park Dae-ho replied politely. We propose a treaty, Thex-Moore continued. Rather than fight, we suggest we share control of the Andromeda Gateway. Your species may use it for colonization while we maintain military control. Kim Sora looked interested. That is a generous offer. Why make it? Because, said another Vorthak warrior, we have studied your species. You are unpredictable. We cannot calculate the outcome of our battle with certainty. Park Dae-ho stood up slowly. I appreciate the offer, but we will have to decline. Why? Thexmore asked. This arrangement would benefit both our peoples. Because we did not come here to share, Park Dae-ho said simply. We came here to win. The Vorthak delegation exchanged what might have been worried glances. You understand that in direct combat we possess overwhelming physical advantages? Yes. You understand that our crystal structure makes us nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons? Yes. You understand that we have never been defeated. In single combat? Park Dae-ho smiled. Neither have we. The match began at sunset with the arena's artificial lighting creating dramatic shadows across the shifting landscape. The crowd was larger than ever before. Representatives from every known species had come to witness this final battle. The Vorthak entered the arena like walking monuments, each step shaking the ground. They moved in perfect formation, their crystal bodies refracting the arena lights into rainbow patterns. They were weapons of living stone, beautiful and terrible. The humans entered quietly, carrying their simple equipment and weapons. Compared to the crystal giants, they looked like children with toys. This appears to be a mismatch of epic proportions, announced the commentator. The Vorthak have size, strength, and nearly impenetrable defenses. What can the humans possibly do against such overwhelming power? The battle began with the Vorthak charging forward like an avalanche. The ground cracked under their feet as they closed the distance to the human positions. Their strategy was simple: use their superior physical abilities to crush the humans quickly before any tricks could be employed. Park Dae-ho and his team did exactly what the Vorthak expected. They ran away. Are the humans retreating? The commentator asked. This seems unlike their previous behavior. But the humans were not retreating randomly. They were leading the Vorthak toward a specific section of the arena where Kim So-ra had noticed something during her pre-match reconnaissance. The first Vorthak warrior reached Li Wujin and swung a massive crystal fist. The punch would have turned a normal being into paste, but Li Wujin was not where the punch landed. He had rolled under the attack and was now behind the crystal giant. What happened next shocked everyone watching. Li Wujin pulled out a small hammer and struck the Vorthak warrior in what appeared to be a random spot on his back. The tiny impact should have been meaningless against a creature made of living crystal. Instead, the Vorthak warrior's entire body began to resonate with a deep harmonic tone. The crystal structure that made him nearly invulnerable also made him susceptible to specific frequencies. The hammer strike had found exactly the right spot to trigger a resonance cascade. What is happening? Thexmore demanded, as his companion began to shake uncontrollably. Harmonics, Kim So-ra called out as she struck another Vorthak with a tuning fork. Every crystal has a resonant frequency. Hit it just right and the whole structure becomes unstable. The second Vorthak warrior began vibrating so violently that cracks appeared in his crystal skin. He tried to stop the resonance by changing his body position, but the harmonic frequency had already taken hold. Impossible, Thexmore said. Our structure is perfect. We cannot be damaged by such primitive methods. Park Dae-ho appeared behind him, holding what looked like a simple metal rod. Perfect structures have perfect weaknesses, he said, and struck Thexmore at a precise point near the base of his spine. The massive Vorthak leader began to resonate like a giant bell. The sound was so deep and powerful that it shook the entire arena. Spectators covered their ears as the harmonic frequency built to dangerous levels. How did you know? Thexmore asked as cracks spread across his crystal body. Kim So-ra figured it out, Park Dae-ho replied. She noticed that your footsteps made different sounds depending on where you walked. The frequency changed based on your internal structure. Once we knew you were essentially living tuning forks, the rest was just basic physics. The remaining Vorthak warriors tried to adapt, but the humans had prepared for this. They had mapped the harmonic vulnerabilities of crystal structures and knew exactly where and how to strike for maximum effect. Within minutes, all 5 Vorthak champions were down, their crystal bodies too unstable to continue fighting. They were not seriously injured, but they could no longer maintain their combat effectiveness. We surrender, Thexmore announced, his voice distorted by the continuing resonance. The victory is yours. The arena fell completely silent. Then, Slowly, the applause began. It started with a few beings and grew until the entire stadium was cheering. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all classifications," the commentator announced. "For the first time in galactic history, the Interspecies Warrior Championship has been won by a species that was not even listed in the original betting pools." Park. Daeho helped Thexmore to his feet as the Crystal Warrior's resonance finally stabilized. "Why?" Thexmore asked. "Why do you fight so brutally? You could have simply accepted our offer to share control." Park Daeho looked at the massive crystal being with something that might have been respect. "Because on our world, everything tried to kill us for millions of years. We learned to kill back better. But surely your world cannot be more dangerous than ours. We face volcanic eruptions, crystal storms, tectonic shifts that remake continents. Your world tried to kill you with natural disasters," Park Daeho replied. "Our world tried to kill us with everything else that lived on it. Plants, animals, bacteria, viruses, other humans. We learned to fight opponents who were smarter, faster, stronger, more numerous, and more desperate than we were." Thexmore was quiet for a long moment. "What happens now? You control the gateway. Will humans conquer the galaxy as we once conquered our system?" Park Daeho looked up at the stars visible through the arena's transparent dome. "We did not win because we were stronger than you. We won because we never learned how to quit." As the human team left the arena, Kim So-ra was interviewed by the galactic media. "Dr. Kim, what message does this victory send to the other species in the galaxy?" Kim So-ra thought carefully before answering. "It sends the message that humans are not going away. We are here, we are expanding into the galaxy, and we will not be stopped by anyone who thinks we are too small or too weak to matter. Is that a threat?" "No," Kim So-ra replied. "It is a promise." The tournament was over, but everyone watching knew that something fundamental had changed in the balance of galactic power. The small creatures from the blue planet had proven they belonged among the greatest warrior species in known space. And they had done it by refusing to accept that anything was impossible. 3 days after the tournament ended, everything had changed aboard Nexus Prime. The corridors that once echoed with casual dismissal of the human species now buzzed with urgent diplomatic activity. Ships from dozens of worlds had arrived, each carrying ambassadors who suddenly needed to speak with Earth's representatives. Ambassador Seo Ji-hoon stepped off the Earth diplomatic transport, flanked by a small security detail. He was a tall man with silver hair and the patient demeanor of someone who had spent decades negotiating with difficult parties. As Earth's chief diplomatic officer, he had come to handle the aftermath of humanity's unexpected victory. The transformation was immediate and obvious. Alien beings who had barely noticed humans a week ago now moved carefully out of Seo Ji-hoon's path as he walked through the station. Security guards who had ignored human requests now snapped to attention when they saw his diplomatic credentials. "Ambassador." "Seo," called out a reporter as he made his way to the diplomatic quarters. "How does Earth plan to use its new control over the Andromeda Gateway?" Seo Ji-hoon paused and smiled politely. "Earth has always believed in open trade and peaceful expansion. We see no reason to change that policy now." But privately, he was already reviewing the requests that had flooded Earth's communication networks. The Dreknari wanted to purchase human military advisors. The peaceful Eldori were offering tribute in exchange for protection from more aggressive species. The Zenith Collective had submitted a formal application to form a defensive alliance with Earth. In the station's main conference center, Park Daeho and his team sat before the Galactic Council for the first time. The same beings who had barely acknowledged human participation in the tournament now hung on every word from the small delegation from Earth. "Commander Park," said the council leader, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish with golden tendrils, "the council would like to formally congratulate humanity on its victory. We would also like to discuss Earth's intentions regarding galactic policy." Park Daeho looked around the vast chamber filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. "Our intentions are simple. We want the same things we have always wanted: room to grow, resources for our people, and the right to defend ourselves." "And the gateway?" asked a Vorthak representative. How will humanity manage access to the Andromeda Galaxy? The same way any reasonable species would, Park Dae-ho replied. We will charge reasonable fees for passage and maintain security to ensure safe travel for all species. All species? Asked a nervous Quelix drone. Even those who opposed you in the tournament. Kim So-ra leaned forward. Humans do not hold grudges over fair competition. You fought well and honored the rules. We respect that. The relief in the chamber was visible, but it was mixed with something else. Wariness. The galaxy was learning that humans could be reasonable victors, but they were also learning that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had suspected. Dr. Nam Yu-jin had arrived with the diplomatic mission. He was Earth's leading philosopher, and had been asked to address the Galactic Council about humanity's place in the cosmic community. Honored beings, he began, you invited humans to participate in a tournament to determine the strongest warrior species in the galaxy. You learned something you were not prepared for. Which was? Asked the council leader. You learned that humans do not fight to prove we are strong. We fight because we refuse to lose. Nam Yu-jin activated a display showing human expansion patterns throughout their home system. Look at how humans have spread through the Sol system. We did not wait for perfect technology or ideal conditions. We went to hostile worlds with whatever we had and made them work for us. The display showed Mars colonies, asteroid mining operations, and research stations in the outer planets. It showed humans living and working in environments that would kill most other species. Other civilizations expand when they have overwhelming advantages. Nam Yu-jin continued. Humans expand when we decide we want something, regardless of the obstacles. But surely there are limits to this behavior, asked a worried representative from the Peaceful Coalition. Nam Yu-jin smiled. Humans once looked at the ocean and decided to cross it in wooden boats, not knowing what was on the other side, or if there was another side at all. We looked at the sky and decided we wanted to fly. We looked at our own planet from space and decided that was not far enough. What does this mean for galactic civilization? Asked the council leader. It means that humans are here to stay, Nam Yu-jin replied. We are expanding into the galaxy not because we conquered it, but because we decided it belongs to us too now. As the formal sessions ended, something unprecedented began happening throughout Nexus Prime. Species that had never spoken to each other were forming coalitions and alliances. The shared experience of watching humans systematically defeat every supposedly superior opponent had created a new understanding of galactic politics. The Luxari energy. Beings approached the crystalline Vorthak about combining their technologies. The shape-shifting Morphins offered their services to the Zenith Collective as scouts and infiltrators. Even the proud Draknari dragons were discussing mutual defense pacts with former enemies. Look what you have done, Thexmore said to Park Dae-ho as they watched the diplomatic activity from an observation deck. You have united the galaxy. Against us? Park Dae-ho asked. No, Thexmore replied. With you. Everyone wants to be on the same side as humans now. Li Wu-jin joined them, carrying a datapad filled with requests from various species. We have offers for technology exchanges, cultural programs, joint military exercises, and something called a friendship treaty from the Eldori that seems to involve them bringing us gifts once a year. And the threats? Kim So-ra asked as she approached the group. None, Li Wu-jin replied with surprise. No one is threatening us. A few species have requested that we promise not to invade their home systems, but even those requests are very polite. Thexmore's crystal form reflected the station lights as he turned to look at the human team. I have been thinking about our match. When I struck that platform and it shook when you hit me and I began to resonate, those were not accidents. You planned for those exact scenarios. We planned for everything we could think of, Park Dae-ho confirmed. And then we planned for things we could not think of too. How do you plan for the unknown? Kim So-ra answered. By assuming that whatever we planned for will go wrong, and whatever goes wrong will be worse than we expected. Then we prepare backup plans for our backup plans. A month later, the first ships began passing through the Andromeda Gateway under human management. The fees were reasonable, the security was excellent, and the processing was efficient. More importantly, humans kept their word about allowing all species equal access. But the galaxy noticed other things too. Human ships were exploring every system near the gateway. Human scientists were cataloging resources and mapping trade routes. Human diplomats were establishing relationships with species no one else had even knew existed. Ambassador Seo Ji-hoon was meeting with leaders from the Inner Worlds Alliance when one of them asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Ambassador, humans now control the most important trade route in the galaxy. You could charge whatever fees you wanted or restrict access to favor your own species. Why do you not? Seo Ji-hoon considered his answer carefully. Because that is not how humans think about power. We do not want to control the galaxy by making everyone else weaker. We want to make ourselves stronger by making everyone else want to work with us. But surely you have military ambitions, plans for expansion, territorial demands? Of course we do, Seo Ji-hoon replied simply. We plan to expand into every habitable system we can find. We intend to build the largest space fleet in galactic history. We are going to establish colonies, mining operations, and research stations throughout both galaxies. The alien leaders looked alarmed. But, Seo Ji-hoon continued, we plan to do all of this by invitation, partnership, and mutual benefit. It turns out that people are much more willing to help you when they profit from your success. Back on Nexus Prime, the human tournament team was preparing to return to Earth. They had accomplished their mission beyond all expectations. Earth now had access to the Andromeda Galaxy, recognition as a major power, and dozens of new allies and trading partners. So what happens now? Li Wujin asked as they packed their equipment. Now we go home and explain to Earth Command that we accidentally made humans the most important species in the galaxy, Park Dae-ho replied. Accidentally? Kim So-ra asked with amusement. We came here to win a tournament. We had no idea it would change galactic politics forever. As their ship prepared for departure, they received one final visitor. Dr. Yoon Hana had requested a private meeting with the team. I wanted to thank you, she said. Your victory has done more for human advancement than 50 years of peaceful diplomacy could have accomplished. How so? Park Dae-ho asked. Before the tournament, other species saw humans as weak newcomers who might someday become minor trading partners. Now they see us as the apex predators of the galaxy. Every species wants to be our ally because they are afraid to be our enemy. Is that good or bad? Li Wujin wondered. Dr. Yoon Hana smiled. It depends on what humans do with that fear and respect. We could